This video is kindly sponsored by MPB. Strong winds, icebergs, and blizzards. We could not compete against nature as we were blown out of multiple bays, preventing us from heading out on the zodiacs for some more Antarctic photography adventures.
We have wind speeds over 30 knots pretty consistently now, so unfortunately it is too much and too wet to be launching zodiacs. It would be a very miserable...
As we searched for shelter, we were keen to get out there again as soon as possible. The first half of this trip had been wonderfully challenging, and as I adapted to photography on windy islands, moving boats, and bouncing zodiacs, I was anticipating what other remarkable landscapes and fascinating wildlife we would be lucky enough to experience and capture. The very moment the seas and wind gave way, you can guarantee we would be out there before you could say Gentoo penguins.
So we're out, we're taking advantage of the miserable weather or the break in the weather, and we're heading up this hill to a penguin colony right at the top. We're going to see if we can grab some images, grab some footage, and head back down before the weather turns again. So I'll meet you right at the top.
We had to cross a few penguin highways as we climbed up, and there was a steady flow of traffic. Of course, the rule is penguins first. I realised very quickly that the climb was longer and steeper than it looked from down below, so my number one goal became getting to the top without falling over. The views were incredible at the top, and my focus instantly shifted to grabbing a few mountain peak images. For the first time on this trip, I decided to use a tripod, but I didn't particularly need it, although it made a great walking stick on the way back down. Processing these images was quite interesting, as I'm not usually one for monochromatic colour or extremely subdued hues to the point where the image could almost be black and white. But Antarctica was really taking me out of my comfort zone and encouraging flexibility in my photography. Flexibility was a key theme here, and it was productive to let go of expectations. In a place where you have no control over nature, the behaviour of animals, the light and the weather conditions, stressing about getting this shot and that shot only results in disappointment. Here's an image I will always remember: a handheld pano on a moving zodiac. Not easy to do, and it almost worked. It looks pretty good at first, but I missed my focus on the far left of the iceberg, so unfortunately it's not quite sharp throughout. It was wonderful to focus on the experience and capture the beauty of Antarctica while having fun. Being soaked by sea spray was nothing while you were out there experiencing fleeting moments you couldn't recreate again. Although I was grateful that the weather sealing of the D850 held up very well, because I was definitely putting it through its paces.
Well, that was not the zodiac excursion that we had planned, but still really fun nonetheless. I am soaked through, I am freezing. I need to get out of all of these layers and go and grab a coffee. But yeah, not easy photographing moving penguins on a boat that is rocking back and forth quite a bit. I don't think I have a single sharp image, but the experience was incredible nonetheless. We've had a brief bit of sunlight, but I can just see cloud coming back in again, and the waters are getting a bit rough again as well. But I think we're going to take a walk around on deck this evening and see what we can photograph from the boat. Hoping for a nice sunset. Some mountain scenery with some colour would be lovely, but it's been pretty consistently cloudy so far on this trip.
Well, my wishes were granted as a hazy sunlight broke through the clouds that very evening. As we were moving on to our next location, we were unfortunately moving away from the mountains. So I swapped the 24 to 120mm lens out for a 70 to 200 just for that extra little bit of reach.
So yes, some of you have spotted it. The 70 to 200mm lens is not mine. This was kindly loaned to me by MPB for this trip. I have been very curious about this lens as to whether to add a 70 to 200 to my camera bag, and this is a beast of a lens. It's an f2.8, so it is weighty, but boy is it sharp. So I'm having a lot of fun playing around with this. It's an incredible lens, but my current thoughts are that I would not be popping one of these into my camera bag. Just the weight is dissuading me. I don't want to be carrying this around often, but what a lens. So thank you to MPB for sending this out to me. I will be sending it back when I get home. And also thank you to MPB for sponsoring today's video. I'm sure you all know who MPB are at this point. If you don't, what are you doing? They are the largest reseller of video and photo kit, and the first place that I go to if I'm looking to purchase something new for my camera bag or looking to pass equipment on to someone else. And they don't just do camera bodies and lenses, they do all sorts of equipment such as microphones, audio equipment, straps, tripods. Oh, we're gonna finish in here because it is freezing outside. So I absolutely love the idea of passing photography and video kit on to other people. Something that you may have outgrown can greatly benefit another person. It can help them improve their skills and grow as a creator, an artist, whatever it is that they want to do. And it's such a shame when useful, usable kit and tech just gets thrown into landfill. It's such a waste. So I'm gonna pop the link to MPB in the description down below if you want to go and check them out. And thanks again to MPB for sponsoring today's video in one of the most amazing locations, or the most amazing location that I have ever been in my life.
When you have no expectations in photography, you can only be pleasantly surprised, and I will never forget zodiac cruising through foggy conditions with wonderment of, what are we gonna find today? We were hoping to see whales, but Antarctica still had a few more surprises for us. We very quickly spotted a couple of stray penguins on the ice, which looked bizarre as we couldn't see land through the thick fog and had no idea how far out they were. As we zoomed around icebergs, we got a glimpse of land, but it was tough to see through such thick and low cloud. When it comes to whale spotting, you either hear them expelling air through their blowholes or smell their fishy garbage breath first, which, as you can imagine, is lovely. I hadn't had much luck grabbing any impressive whale images so far on this trip, and once again I struggled in the cold, wet and windy bay. I guess the only way to fix that is to stay here and practice my whale photography. I wonder if this emperor penguin wouldn't mind a roommate. Yes, that is an emperor penguin, enjoying some alone time on a rather large iceberg. My hands were absolutely frozen at this point, gloves wet with snow, and I was beginning to struggle to remain stable when using the far end of my telephoto lens. But despite being freezing, I was reluctant to go back to the island sky to warm up because I was having a whale of a time photographing these penguins and exploring this bay by zodiac. We almost did get a second chance at photographing that emperor penguin as, well, it tried to board the ship.
That was a pretty challenging zodiac cruise, just because it's so unbelievably cold today. It's very wet, which sounds silly, but it is snowing and it's a very wet snow. And so everything was just getting soaked, my gloves, my camera, and I was struggling to stay stable because of course we're in a moving boat to photograph the whales and the penguins, and also I'm just shivering because I'm cold and wet. So that was a challenge, but to top it off, people are now going to go and do what they call the Polar Plunge, where they essentially go and jump into the Antarctic Ocean. And I am definitely not doing that. Not a single part of my body wants to go and do that.
I was not destined to stay dry and warm until our last landing of the trip was complete, but we were finally able to go and spot some chin strap penguins.
I literally can't see anything out of my glasses right now, but I want to just briefly explain to you what I'm looking for here. I'm finding that I prefer to go wider with my wildlife shots and try and encompass some of the landscape in there as well, and that can be just as simple as some of these rocks, pathways, or these big mountains off in the background. And I'm hoping that the rain lets up just a little bit so that I can get this mountain here in the back of a couple of shots with some penguins in the foreground. That would be amazing.
I quickly scrapped my plans as the rain only seemed to come in harder, and I managed to leave the lens hood of my wide angle lens back on board, so I stuck to the 100 to 400 and focused on the wildlife. We stuck it out for as long as possible before admitting defeat, but as Courtney back on the boat says,
I suppose you can't say every day that you got absolutely drenched in Antarctica, so...
And there it was, our last zodiac outing in Antarctica complete.
We're currently heading back towards Ushuaia, where we are going to disembark. It's going to take us a couple of days to get there. We're heading back early because there is some pretty bad weather across the Drake Passage over the next couple of days, and we're basically trying to avoid it because the Drake Shake is something that I don't want to experience. So that is it for the Zodiac outings and landings. So yeah, the next time you see me, I'll be back in the UK, which is a shame, but I am also pretty excited to get back in the forest. So I might document the way back, and if anything interesting happens. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching this video, and I'll see you again soon.
I know you're thinking, Courtney, just go already, just go. But I just wanted to share with you the whale images that I managed to capture on the way back to Ushuaia. We were so lucky, we had a pod of orcas come really close to the boat, and I finally got those whale images. Yay! They're actually sharp. A big thanks to Polar Latitudes for an incredible trip, and the rest of the pro photo team, which was amazing to be a part of. Head on over to their channels and websites linked down below to see what they got up to in Antarctica.